Good morning, everyone. Welcome to God's house on this Sunday, November 9th. And we are thankful for the rain and preparing for a little snow, I hear. So we will take it. Okay, let's get the joke out of the way. I was asked to pick up a 6-pack of Sprite. When I got home, I realized I picked 7-Up. The only person smiling right now is Pastor Andrew. Okay, thank you, Anthony. We have one person that is with you, PA. All right, we'll start off with some announcements today. Dwayne let us know that the Herald is on the back table if you would like to take one. And for choir, some of you have shown some interest in being with the candlelight choir practice, and the candlelight choir is actually just our church choir now. So if you would like to join us in choir practice on Thursday nights, we are going to practice what we will be singing for Christmas first, and then after that, if you choose, you can go ahead and leave. So if you are interested in being in candlelight, just join us Thursday nights, and we will see you at practice, and we will start the candlelight practice first. At 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Terry, did you hear that one? Okay, thank you. Just a few announcements I'm going to highlight from the bulletin. Witness is collecting Acme receipts, so just keep on bringing those in because it's just free money for the church. We are now collecting empty prescription bottles. They will be sent to countries to be used for new prescriptions. Please remove any label and put that in the same classroom in the container provided.
There's a rainbow papered box in there.
There's a papered box back in the room with the copy machine, and you can put them in there. Kids Closet will be open in November and December, but closed in January. Our service project for December is filling the giant stocking with underwear and socks for kids. Please start looking for sales at stores. These items are always the first to be chosen during our Kids Closet days, and we appreciate all your help with that. The Elliott Good Neighbor food donations continue. Please remember to continue to bring in your Good Neighbors donation. Soup and crackers was this week, and paper products will be for next week. And also, those can go back in the same room with the copy machine. Bible study with Pastor Andrew is meeting on Wednesday evenings at 7. You can attend in person or by using Zoom. Commission meetings are this Tuesday again already at 7 o'clock. An executive meeting will be starting at 7:40 this Tuesday. Cindy Peel has started a woman's Zoom Bible study that meets at different times. One time is 7:30 Wednesday night, and the other time is Thursday morning at 9 a.m. This coming week will be the third week the groups are meeting. Give Cindy a call if you want to be a part of this study. She is putting out this idea to the entire Northeast Ohio Church District, and now she is doing a study on the women of the Bible. Are there any other announcements? Let's move into our time of joys and concerns. Anybody have anything that you would like to share?
Prayers for Diane Myers of Eastwood Church. She went into the ER this morning about 3:30. Her and her husband Gary are very involved over there, and she's currently in the CDU. They don't know what's going on.
Pastor Andrew, what's CDU?
Clinical decision unit.
Okay. Prayers have been asked for our sister Diane Myers from Eastwood, who was taken to the ER, and they are not quite sure what's going on yet. Any other joys or concerns? Mark? Mark, what's his first name again? Dean? Dan. Danny? Do you know his name? Mark shares a joy that his neighbor Danny, who had a fall from a tree, is actually walking again up and down the street. But his father Warren had a fall too and had a head injury. So let's keep Warren in our prayers. Any other joys and concerns? If not, join me in prayer, please. Present Lord, be here in this time and space, that we may always look back and know that you were and are and always will be faithful. Please stand for our call to worship. Here I raise my Ebenezer. Streams of mercy never ceasing call for songs of loudest praise. Our gathering hymn is in the blue hymnal number 37, Praise to the Lord the Almighty. Thank you, Bev. Please join me in prayer. Lord, who remembers us, who answers our calls, never sleeps or walks away, we lift our prayers knowing that they will be heard and answered. You are steadfast while we are wandering. You remember while we forget. When we are confused, lost, and unsure, you see through us and understand us perfectly. We come today knowing that we are understood on a level too deep for words and loved despite the faults we so carefully try to hide. We lift to you all that burdens our hearts, those things we hide from others, and those things we share in our community today. Today, Lord, we ask special prayers for our sister Diane from Eastwood as she is at the hospital. Lord, you are the great physician, we know that, and just work through the doctors and nurses and medical staff who are helping her. Be with Gary, her husband, and just let them be able to help her and figure out what is going on. And Lord, we also ask special prayers on Warren, who fell and has a head injury. Lord, just be with him and his family as they help him to regain strength and give everyone knowledge who is working with him. Victorious God, whose mere rumblings cause knees to tremor, we come before you with dancing spirits, raising Ebenezers that all may see your work in our lives. Here are joys that lift as one. We are so thankful, Lord, that Mark's neighbor Danny is recovering and walking up and down the street. It's little things that we see like that that mean such big things, Lord. Great Spirit, steady our hearts and slow our feet, that we might not be led into the brambles after every shiny object. Keep our wandering hearts tied closely to you, and when we do wander, may we remember that you are ready for our return and not let our shame and pride keep us away. You who came to live with us, may we come running home. Amen. Today we were here from 1 Samuel 7, verses 10 to 12. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to engage Israel in battle. But that day the Lord thundered with loud thunder against the Philistines and threw them into such a panic that they were routed before the Israelites. The men of Israel rushed out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, slaughtering them along the way to a point below Beth-kar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He named it Ebenezer, saying, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." May the words of the ancient speak truth to our age. Our next hymn is in the blue hymnal, number 546, "Guide My Feet." we bringing the stuffies? All right. Don't make us look like we have more kids up here. Aha. Sure, you can come up. Alright. Can you kind of see that?
Yeah.
Push that in just a little bit more to lay those legs. Okay. How are we today?
Good.
Yeah? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Great. So today we're going to talk about this poster thingy up here, but first I want to tell you something that's going on in my room, and it drives every teacher crazy when nobody knows how to zip their coats.
I know.
Because now we got all these coats, and guess what? I don't have time to do 19 coats 3 times a day.
I know how.
Do you know how to zip your coats?
Yeah.
Do you know how to zip your coats?
Yeah.
Well, then you have made it to your teacher's favorite day, because we don't have to zip your coats anymore. But here's the thing. I've got all these kids who don't know how to zip their coats. If I go up to them and I say, hold still, let me get it, and I zip their coat, are they ever going to learn how to zip their coat?
No.
No.
Yes.
I've got to show them how to do it, don't I?
Yes.
So I have to put on my little patience pills, and I have to say, okay, here's what you do first. About 19,000 times during this winter, I'll have to say that. But once they do know how, does your mommy have to help you anymore?
No.
No? And do I have to help the kids once they know?
No.
No. So isn't that much better?
Sometimes I forget.
Sometimes you forget? Well, that's okay. Forgetting's one thing, especially if you don't try, right? Okay, because mommies get upset when you don't even try.
That's a big sharp
Okay,
marker.
it is a big fat marker. Isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
Teachers love their toys. Okay, so here's going to be Miss M. There you are. Aren't you cute? Okay, I got to put a bow on top of your head though. Okay. And then here's Miss Grace.
Oh, that's me.
There's you. And you have a little bandana up there. I'll pull the bandana off. Okay, so now if you girls know how to zip your coats, okay? And then you go and you tell 2 people and you show them how to tie their coats or how to zip their coats. You just helped 2 friends, didn't you? Yeah, and if Grace, if you go to 2 people and you show them how to zip their coats, look at that. How many people know how to zip their coats now? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people know how to zip their coats.
I'm going to have.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I'm going to have too.
Yeah? Okay, well now, those friends that you just showed how to zip their coats, they're going to go and they're going to tell 2 friends. And somehow the head shrunk on this picture, but they still know how to zip their coats, which makes everyone happy. And Gracie, you're going to have those friends. They're going to tell 2 friends. And so now, let me put smiley faces on there, because everybody's happy to know how to zip their coats. Oh, thank you. This friend's got to tell 2 friends. Okay, now let's count. How many kids know how to tie or how to zip their coats now? 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 kids know how to zip their coats.
Yeah. Yeah, because 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2.
Ooh is?
2 is 8.
And then guess what? If they each tell 2 friends, it's going to even be more. And then that teacher's going to be really, really, really happy that she doesn't have to do any more coat zipping, right? So guess what? That's kind of what this project does. Hatchers International says, you know what? We could give somebody some honey, and they could eat it, and then their tummies are going to be all full, and they'll be happy. But are they going to know how to make more honey? No. And we could give them a chicken, and they could cook it up, and they could eat it, and it'd be oh so good. But then, are they going to know how to make more chickens?
No.
No. So what Heifer does is they give bees and chickens and cows
make more chickens and how to make more honey, and then they teach other people. Think about how many people know how to make honey now.
So
And think
many.
about how many people know how to get food from chickens.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so their bellies aren't hungry, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you. This is what just our church did.
Oh.
Our church raised money, and we were able to send one big bunch of bees to two families. So like when I taught, or when you know how to zip your coat and you tell two families, they know how. And if they tell two families, then it's going to be 4 people that know how to do the bees. And then they're going to tell more friends, and then it's 8 families who know how to do bees. We also get to send them chicks. And so now they're going to be able to raise their own chickens, and they're going to tell other people how to raise chickens, and they're going to tell other people how to raise chickens, and then everybody knows how to raise chickens, and they're not going to be hungry anymore. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We didn't just send to 2 families. We sent bees and chicks to 2 more families, and bees and chicks to 2 more families, and even bees and chicks to 2 more families. So instead of starting out with just 2 people that know how to do bees and chicks, we now have 8 families who already know.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell more people, and then they're going to tell more people, and there's not going to be any more hungry tummies over there. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Did you ever turn around, and we're going to look at the back of the church now. Do you see that tall plastic tower back there by the blue board?
Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you know what that is?
That is a money tube.
It's a money tube, but do you know what the money tube is for?
What?
It's for Heifer. Heifer Project, the Heifer International Project. That's what I'm just talking about. Every time you put a quarter in there and we fill up that tube, we send the money and we buy chickens, we buy bees, we buy cows, whatever we decide we want to send over there to people who are hungry. And then we get those people to teach other people, and then we try to help people not be hungry anymore. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, so we're going to encourage all of our little friends, you and you, to bring a quarter. 1 quarter. How much is a quarter worth? 25 cents. Yeah, not that much, right? But when we fill up that tube, we're going to be able to send more chicks and more bees, maybe even a cow, over to somebody who has a hungry belly. And then they can teach somebody else how to take care of it, and then somebody else, and then the bellies get full and everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
So next Sunday, see if you can remember 1 quarter. And we encourage all of our congregation to bring 1 quarter every Sunday and put in that tube. I turned that little board around so that my friends up here could see it, but we'll turn it around again in case you want to investigate the information on Heifer Project International.
Yeah.
And just FYI, a heifer is a cow who's never had a baby. So it's a girl cow who's never had a baby. Did you know that? I had forgotten that. I thought it was a donkey, but it's not. So when a cow is born, if it's a girl, they call it a heifer. And then as soon as it has a baby, they call it a cow.
But
Isn't that weird?
yeah, boo.
Why do you think they call that Heifer Project International? Why did they call it Cow Project?
Because it would be weird.
Well, it sounds weird now, doesn't it? Heifer Project. Cow Project? Maybe we should call it Bee Project or Chick Project. But either way, when you bring in quarters, we save up the money, and then we buy stuff for those people who have hungry bellies all over the world, and then they teach other people, and they teach other people, just like our zipper project up here. And then all those people know how to pull them. Yeah, and zip them. Right. Okay, girls, say a prayer with me. All right. Thank you, Lord, for providing us with everything we need. Thank you that we have no hungry bellies here in our church that we know of. And if there are, Lord, please let us be aware of them so that we can help them. Lord, we just thank you for projects like the Heifer Project International, and we just ask that you bless that project, Lord, helping those who are hungry and who need full honey. Help us to help them by bringing in donations that would teach them, Lord, how to take care of animals, and then to teach others and others and others until
as we consider how we have been blessed and able to share those blessings. Let us continue to share them that we might help those in this congregation and beyond these walls. The ushers may come forward. Gracious Creator, we ask that you take these blessings and use them to build the kingdom. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Our second reading comes from the epistle to the Hebrews, chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. I might read them off the screen. There. We must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away. For since the message spoken through the angels was binding, and every violation and disobedience received its just punishment, how shall we escape if we ignore so great a salvation? This salvation, which was first announced by the Lord, was confirmed to us by those who heard him. Blessed is the word. got a little something going on in my throat, so grab myself something to not have a coughing fit. This was not originally part of the sermon, but my daughter, while on Disney Plus last night or yesterday, realized that there is multiple versions of the Christmas Carol available on Disney Plus, including the 2009 version, which is Jim Carrey plays him, Scrooge, and all of the ghosts, and they just use computer puppets, like matching his face to the puppets kind of thing. And so we watched that. And in case, we're going to talk about Ebenezer a lot today, and it's a really good name, and sadly, I think it's because of that story, we don't name people Ebenezer anymore. And the reason it was named, the character was named that, first off, Dickens wrote it because his wife spent too much money getting ready for Christmas, and so he needed something to make money quick. And then he wrote a bestseller, I'll say. And then he based Ebenezer Scrooge off a tombstone he had seen in a churchyard, I think in Scotland, for an Ebenezer Scrooge, who was listed underneath as a mean man. And he thought, wow, how about mean do you have to be that they would put that on your tombstone? He misread it. It said meal man, because he was a dealer in cereals. Poor Ebenezer Scrooge. That's not actually what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Ebenezer, a stone and standing stones, and a place that I would love to go visit. It's in southeastern Turkey. It's called Göbekli Tepe. If you've ever heard of it, don't worry. It's not the most well-known historic site, but it's amazing. See, for basically ages, anthropologists, archaeologists, sociologists have always believed that the way civilization organized was we were hunter-gatherers. We discovered that certain plants can be purposefully planted in one small space and tended and grow better. And then eventually, by working with that plant, they developed agriculture, and then we started to settle in small towns, which led to villages, which led to civilization. And similarly, the way religion developed for early humanity was people believed there was something greater than themselves, a spirituality, and as they organized into civilization, the spirituality organized into religion. And of course, as somebody of faith, I would say, even for certain people, they got a special conversation from someone up top. But that's how anthropologists have basically said, this is probably how things worked. This is what the evidence says. Until we got to Göbekli Tepe, which predates agriculture. And it is a temple older than civilizations themselves. As they uncovered the hill and they found inside of it were great big standing stones with intricate carvings of wild animals of the ancient Near East. It absolutely blew everything scientists thought about early civilization completely out of the water. But among the most amazing things in there, I think, are these standing stones. They're huge, taller than many people, and made in an age before metalwork of any kind, meaning they carved this using only other stones, raised them up and set them. We humans just have a thing about raising stones and marking them in remembrance. We have done it, as we see at Göbekli Tepe. We've done it since before we were even civilizations. You looking it up? It's pretty cool. If you're interested, there is a show called Expedition, I can't think of its last name. It's by Josh Gates. It's on Discovery. I want to say in the last season, he goes to visit it, and it's amazing. I don't usually watch shows like that twice over, but that one I did, because it's amazing. Anyway, Obviously, we humans have been doing this for ages, and we know some of them. I mean, after all, who here hasn't heard of Stonehenge? Or the many stones, dolmens, menhirs, and all the other different names we call them, that mark not just England, but France, all of Europe, Africa, Asia, even Australia and the Americas have been marked with these prehistoric stones. And we humans continue to put them up. After all, we've got a place right across the road marked with hundreds of stones of reminders of people who once were. Even the town I grew up in, it had its own ancient stone, though it has long been lost. I grew up in Huntingdon County, the seat of which is Huntingdon. But the old name for Huntingdon, before the Europeans moved in, was Standing Stone, because the original native tribe there, one called the Untitled people, we think that's where the name Juniata comes from. Well, that actually isn't what they called themselves anyway. That was the Susquehannock word for them, which means standing stone. Yes, it's very unimaginative. But they had put up a stone where, again, Standing Stone Creek meets the Juniata, or Standing Stone River. Yeah, very imaginative here. 6 inch by 6 inch by 14 feet tall, carved in their stories. Now, the stone was lost when the Europeans moved in. One night under dark, the Unayata came back, got their stone, and left. There's another stone nearby as a reminder of that story we have lost. We humans put up stones to touch, to remember, so that our stories do not die when we do, because stones feel ancient to us. They outlast not just our generation, but generation after generation, though often the story becomes lost. And somewhere out there in modern day Israel, there is a stone that sits there whose meaning has become completely lost, except for a short story here in the Bible, even though we have no idea what stone it was. Samuel had been the boy who served in the tabernacle. He grew up and became the last and the greatest of judges. And for one small chapter, we get a glimpse of what it was like to live under the time of Samuel the judge. Because after this, he becomes an old man. Kind of skip most of his story, don't we? Anyway, things happen as they happen with judges. An outside group attacks. The Philistines have arrived on the scene. And the people go to Samuel, Samuel, help us. And Samuel does exactly as a judge should. He doesn't mess about like, Samson or Gideon or the others. He goes straight to God in prayer. God, help us. And God immediately answers. And the heavens open up and a thunder peals so loudly that the advancing Philistine army runs. And the Israelite army, they're not even there ready to fight. They're waiting at Mizpah. In fact, it might not even be the army. It's unclear. It might have just been the city garrison or there's the men from the town. See the Philistines running, going, okay, we got this. Let's chase them down, boys. It was exactly what was supposed to happen for all those generations. The thing that they kept failing at. Everything happened as it was originally meant to be. And so Samuel takes a stone, a large stone apparently, and he sits it upright, and he names it Ebenezer, stone of help, so that every person who passes by on their way from one town to another along this road, they would see that stone and remember. They would not remember about how awesome Samuel was. They were not there to remember how the men of Mizpah had conquered the Philistines, who were very technically advanced compared to them. They were not there to remember how fiercely they fought. They would touch the stone And remember that when you call out to God, when you go to God right away, God answers. Ebenezer is a cranky old guy. But born in 1735, his father passed away when he was but 5 years old. Now, as it would have happened in those days, if your parent died, especially if it was your father's family would help raise you. They would take in your mother and said, good luck. It was about 5 days' wages in that time. Does anyone think they could, survive off $110 and that's it? That's a very hard start spot. But his mother worked hard. We don't know what she did, but she worked hard. And through her efforts, she was able to, by the age of 15, secure her son a spot, an apprenticeship. You had to pay to be an apprentice at a barber in London. Barbers, by the way, at this time, this is barber surgeon era. It was not a well-liked job. People did not want to go to the barber for anything other than a haircut because they're also the people who pulled teeth and did surgery. It was a very flexible job. This is also before anesthesia. Anyway. However, like any other 15-year-old who was just sent away from his mother to the big city all by himself to live in some random guy's house and learn from him, he did not really get into the whole, I'm loving this thing, I'm going to stay here and learn well. No. He decided it was a lot more the fun to hang out with other teenage boys running around London. And that's what he did for the next few years. And then at the age of 17, he and his friend got really drunk. Like, drunk as a skunk drunk, which makes no sense because skunks don't drink. It's a smear campaign against skunks. And they got really drunk, and they decided, you know what would be fun? Let's go annoy that fortune teller who lives on this road. Because, that's obviously what teenage boys want to do, right? Annoy fortune tellers. As the story goes. So he goes with his friends, and they start mocking the fortune teller and saying, tell us our fortune. And she decides that she is going to teach these boys a lesson. And so she points at Robert and tells him, you will see your children and grandchildren. That's a very scary fortune, right? No, of course not. But I remember a conversation I had with a friend of mine who spent several years working in an inner city, a heavily gang related area with second and fourth graders, and him telling me that he already had kids who knew they were going to die as teenagers in gang violence, to drug addiction, already had given up on hope that they would live a full life by the second grade. That's terrible in its own right. But I want you to put that mindset upon Robert. So I can't say 100% sure what life was like for him, but that seems to have struck a nerve with him. And I'm going to make a guesstimation that the reason why is he himself figured he's only had a few years left. That he was going to make this life and ride it to its fullest as he could see with what little time he had. That he probably wasn't going to have any kids, let alone live long enough for those kids to grow up and have kids of their own. He figured he only had a little time left. He might as well enjoy it. But there was something about this woman's words. Whether this fortune teller was actually telling a fortune, or just saying something that would shock him, or she was trying to be nice. I have no idea. I mean, that sounds like something I would love to hear from a fortune teller. And it made him think about his choices a little more. It made him want to try a little harder. So he decided to go to a local revival. George Whitefield, there's one of those great big holy names, one of the great speakers of the First Great Awakening, and listened to him preach, and his heart was moved. He wanted to change. He wanted to do better. And so he joined Whitefield's movement. He became a preacher, an evangelist, a helper. And by the age of 22, he wrote today's hymn. He wrote, "Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise." Now, I'm going to read it a little later in full, but in the second verse, it reads, "Here I raise mine Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'll come." He remembered this little tiny verse in Samuel, this moment when God answered the call. And he recognized in his own life that at this moment, he had asked God for help, and God answered his call and changed his life for the better. And so he raises an Ebenezer, a stone of help within the lyrics of this hymn. And this hymn very quickly is connected with an American tune and becomes very popular. Now, to go on in Robert's story, he gets married, he gets some kids, they decide to buy a farm. Now, during this time, he continues to work in the church. He actually, while studying, comes to the decision that while he appreciates George Whitefield and the Methodist movement that George is kind of helping along at that moment, that he cannot agree with this whole infant baptism thing, so he joins another movement that eventually becomes the Baptist as we know them today. And while he is a part of that, he ends up becoming one of its most powerful early preachers. Thousands of people flock every Sunday to come and hear him preach. But then things start to get a little hazy here. Things are going well. He's got his kids. His kids get married. They have grandkids. He sells the farm to one of his son-in-law and his daughter. So he's still living on the farm, watching his grandkids grow. But he's getting beaten down. I mean, imagine being a church leader of a church that is not sanctioned in your country. One in which the government is actively doing things to make life not so easy for you. On top of that, all these different nonconformist groups are fighting with each other. And he's a big reader. He's listening to all these arguments, but he doesn't seem to have a really solid hold of what he believes. So one Sunday he'll preach one thing against this group, and then maybe a couple Sundays later he might preach for the other group. And he kind of flip-flops a little. And I tell you all this, so by the end of his life, the groups that he at one time supported and at other times were against, that they all claimed him as part of their group, saying that he, at the end of his life, wasn't that bad. At the end of his life, that he had renounced the other groups and supported only their group. I usually try really hard not to tell stories that aren't substantiated in some way, but I'm going to tell one today. Just take it with a grain of salt that it's one of these groups made this claim after he died. But I really like the story, so we're going with it. Just hold on to that grain of salt, okay? The story goes that as an old man, he is riding a stagecoach, the old inner city, system of that time. And he happened to be sitting next to a young woman who was sitting there and humming a couple bars of Come Thou Fount. And he turned and he looked at her, and she realized that this gentleman, dressed as a preacher, was listening to her. And she goes, well, do you like the song, sir? Let me sing a little for you. And she sang the first verse for him. Do you like it, sir? And he says to her, Madam, I am the poor, unhappy man who wrote that hymn many years ago, and I would give 1,000 worlds if I had them to feel now as I did then. Now, the argument being that he had gone so astray over the years that now hearing that song brought him back to his original faith, and he wished that he could grasp at that once more. That the song, the Ebenezer, the stone he raised amidst the song, did what it was meant to do. That he heard it, and he reached out, and he put his hand upon the stone, and he remembered what God had once done for him. As I said, the story might be apocryphal. We don't know. I do know that he struggled a lot late in his life to hold on to his faith, but that this song has transcended all of his questions, all of his wanderings, something that even today we still sing. We humans are wanderers. We lose track of what God has done. We forget. We forget. Even now, as you sit here, I invite you for just a second to think back. And I'm sure you can pick out a few memories, moments that you knew God was with you, that you knew God had answered a prayer. Thinking of one? Maybe two? Maybe a few? I can certainly think of many. But what I also realize, and I invite you to think about, is at 39, there's lots of memory gaps. Lots of things I forgot that happened. That maybe a conversation with somebody who's there might bring it back. But a lot I don't remember. I'm sure there are moments when I recognize that God had been there, that I set up in the moment and I thought, I will not forget what God has done for me today, and I forgot. Not because I'm, a terrible person. I don't think I'm a terrible person. I'm not quite Mary Poppins. She's mostly perfect in every way, But I recognize that I cannot possibly hold on to every single memory. And the ones that I can hold on to the most are the ones that I have set up my own Ebenezer stones for. My own ways of remembering, pictures in my house, mementos that I pick up and I can touch and remember. Oh, I know this. I have no idea where it is, but I remember this for a long time. When I was 4 years old, I had surgery on my right eye. I had a cyst growing between the outer layer of my eye, the outer skin layer, and underneath. In fact, if you look really close, which I won't invite you to do today because I've got a cold, you can see scar tissue. I've got a crescent on the side of my eye. And this lady brought for me this tiny little statue with a Bible that fits underneath it. Tiny little Bible. It's like a Psalms and one of the Gospels. And that's it. But every time I looked at that thing, and it was sitting up on top of my dresser from, I don't know, until I moved out of my parents' house, I would remember that surgery and how I was supported and watched over and cared for. A little plastic angel boy, an Ebenezer. The writer in Hebrews knows that we humans are wanderers and therefore warns the people, don't forget. Pay greater attention to what you have heard. Share it. Do not drift away. For we have, why should we neglect this great gift we have been given? Now, the writer doesn't go this far, but I would invite you to think about that in your own life, to set up your own Ebenezer stones so that you might remember, that you might not drift away. And it could be an actual stone if you'd like. Please be very careful. Stones are heavy. Don't throw out your back. But I have had friends that they do. They set up things in their gardens. You know, we have a garden in our... Gnomes, that too. Ebenezer gnomes. That's the Scroogey one. Anyway. I have my Ebenezer stone, more so for Sophia and our little garden. But I have friends who have Ebenezer stones that they keep in the desk drawer. It's a journal where they write down what life has given them each day, and they raise up their praises to God and put down the prayers they wish to lift. Or they might be more like me, who collects mementos here and there that remind me of a moment that happened. My kids' hospital bands from when they were born, for instance. I imagine I am not the only parent who's got a drawer of that in it. Raise your own Ebenezer stones, your own reminders of what God has done for you, so that when you do wander, when you are like Robert Robinson, and have wandered away, that you might stumble again upon your Ebenezer and put your hand on it and remember, here was a moment in my history when I had called for help and God answered. Here is a moment when God was present and I needed. Here, God helped me. Raise your Ebenezer and remember. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to read this off my phone because I forgot to print the lyrics today. But let us hear the Ebenezer as it was first written when he was but 22. Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount, I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Sorrowing I shall be in spirit, till released from flesh and sin. Yet from what I do inherit, here thy praises I'll begin. Here I raise my Ebenezer, here by thy great help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He, to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. How his kindness yet pursues me, mortal tongue can never tell. Clothed in flesh till death shall loose me, I cannot proclaim it well. Oh, to grace how great the debtor, daily I am constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, O take and seal it for thy courts above. Oh, that day when freed from sinning, eyes shall see thy lovely face. Clothed then in blood, washed in linen, how I'll sing thy sovereign grace. Come, my Lord, no longer tarry. Take my ransomed soul away. Send thy angels now to carry me to endless me to realms of endless day. Let us join in singing number 521, Come Thou Fount. Brothers and sisters, go out and raise your Ebenezers and find the ones that you have already put and place your hand upon them. And know that God had helped you thus far and will help you until the end. The fount ever flows. Amen.